What's up, everybody? Welcome to Analysis Stream Thursday. Alright. Got my list on. Taking names for the list. Evening. Evening, sire. We are live. Rachmaninoff. The Rachmaninoff. Alright. Game analysis stream. I have submissions from my studies. What's up, Asterbait Arsenal fan, Mr. Coffee? Speaking of Asterbait, we've got Thomas Treinson, Anonymous, literally, Asterbait, Schumacher, Asterbait, Schumacher, Mule Skinner, Big Dummy. Yeah, where's yours? You should be first. Where is yours? Why is yours not in the list? I even remember that. I don't remember who was first. You or probably you. Arsenal fan. You or Thomas. Cracking. Makes me think of Wallace and Gromit. Oh no. Don't do this to me. Alright, we have to do the get PGN method. Get PGN. Copy. You can go first if you so wish, Mr. Arsenal fan. Got complimented by Andrew. Can I put this in the study? Did I already do it? Now it's twice in there. Chapter 7. Arse. Just arse. I never met Andrew Martin. I don't think we've ever played in the same tournament. Yeah, I guess he does a lot of coaching mostly. So, alright, just arse. According to everyone else's analysis, quite rare for him to compliment people. It's always rewarding having a coach like that. A cushy gig. Alright, I like children, I just hate their parents. Imagine all the parents he has to deal with. Just Arse, Thomas Treinson, Anonymous Player, Asterbait, Schumacher, Mule Skinner. The Mule Skinner, and Big Dummy. Now, who am I missing? Before we get started, Morales. Morales is last. I guess the only one I'm missing is Morales. He said to pick a game from the simul, the game from the simul. Alright, just a placeholder. So I remember. Hey, Arse. What's up? Alright. Should I start drinking now or wait a little bit? It's been a long day. I have lots of lessons on Thursdays. Very busy day for me. We're going to try to keep this to 3 hours for today. 3-hour stream till 9:30. It's only you. Don't let me get drunk, okay? If I start acting funny, just tell me to stop. I'm just gonna have a glass of wine or two while we analyze. All right. Arsenal is your white, you said. You are not white. You're black. You're black. Oh, my bad. All right. You said that, but I didn't pay attention. As usual. All right. So, okay. So you're playing like a junior. I'm always afraid. I would be afraid to play e4, e5 against the lower rated players, but I don't know what this player's like grading was. I've not reached the point yet where I'm ready to play e4, e5 against people who I have to beat. Okay, but if it's quite low, it probably doesn't matter. Knight f3, knight c6, and then of course bishop c4. Because everybody plays bishop c4. Bishop e5 is more subtle, you know, so I think for beginners it makes more sense to play bishop c4. I guess this is the #1 move to recommend for people starting out. Direct pressure against f7, you develop quickly. The Spanish is more subtle. Now, personally, I feel more comfortable playing bishop c5 because I don't really mind facing the Evans. For some reason, I'm driven crazy by knight to g5 personally. So you're gonna have to deal with knight to g5. But on the plus side, that can get kind of sharp. You got to know what you're doing against knight g5. Okay. But otherwise, nothing to worry about. I mean, the main line, but it's a 1500 kid, so I'm not expecting him to play like Leonid Yudazin. Shaki, I hope Astrobate didn't post the game from Tuesday where he humiliated you. You had to commit Sudoku after that game. Well, he made his share of mistakes in that game too. I saw that, but he didn't. He's too much of a gentleman. Well, I think you both made a lot of mistakes, but it was kind of forgivable. Alright, no, don't worry. d3, and now bishop c5. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like you gotta play bishop c5. There are other moves, but this is the best for sure. And now c3, and then d6. I don't know, you know. I don't know if anybody knows what the best move is. I like a6 as well. To be frank, though, I mean, any of the moves, d6, a6, castles are all okay. d5 is bad. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to allow white to have pressure here really quickly. d5 has a bad reputation. Another new move is a5, which a lot of people are playing. I think Hey It's Miro might be in that crew. But I learned chess studying the classics, and in the old days people didn't play a5. They were fearful of weakening the b5 square. But, you know, it's apparently been reevaluated, so it turns out a5 is okay. I think d6 castles, a6, or a5, they're all possible. I guess there are specific differences between these moves. Here you're not committing to castling, but if he plays b4, your bishop's forced to go to b6. If you play a6 and he plays b4, your bishop can go back to a7. So I'm not sure if I like the b4 variation, but I suppose a6 gives you a6 or a5 gives you the flexibility to play bishop a7. Maybe it's best if you're going to play an a-pawn move to play it now. So instead, you played d6, and then white played h3, which is quite a rare move. I think like Hare Krishna plays that. It seems strange to play it so early. I suppose the #1 move is like, I thought the #1 move was bishop b3. personally. But maybe that's against a6. Let me see. If we do a6, yeah. See, now bishop b3 is the main move. Because you're sometimes doing like knight a5, perhaps even as a pawn sacrifice. I guess when you do c3, d6, like knight a5 isn't really a threat. Because white has like bishop b5 check, bishop a4, bishop back. So he doesn't have to play, it's not as urgent to play bishop b3 necessarily. And then this move. So I have never ever seen anyone play knight e7 so early. Alarm bells would go off for me here, thinking that like, oh shit, maybe I made a mistake, this is too early. The plan is standard, and h3 is not the sharpest move in the shed, but okay, the only question basically is d4. Is d4 dangerous? I mean, the main question is d4 potentially dangerous? But I guess here, right, I just wanted to make sure like you had no other options, like bishop e6, bishop e6, pawn takes pawn. I mean, I just, bear with me, but doesn't feel right. Somebody told me that, yeah. Shaposhnikov castled some Russian grandmaster, but alright, so d4, pawn takes pawn was your intention. He could play knight takes. That's not really dangerous, like pawn takes though. So I guess this is our only real proper concern. Now on bishop e4 check, I just try to keep an open mind. I think on king f1, it's really dubious, but I just want to make sure of tricks and such. Can white try to play for Evans Gambit type of stuff here? King f1 looks wrong though. He probably has to move the bishop or the knight. This is the sensible move, bishop d2, attacking your bishop. No, I mean if he castles, if he plays king f1, one thing you could do, I wasn't sure, maybe you could play d5 but queen a4 check. I don't know about this. Castles? No. I don't think e5 is a problem. Castles is okay. I mean this. But king f1 looks sort of risky for white. I don't trust it. I just want to check what the engine says. So it goes with our line. The engine's making the main line this, and then I think you could play d5. This is very similar to another variation. That looks quite solid. I think you should destroy his center. It's important. And you end up with an equal position, essentially. Okay. So, Shaposhnikov castled, which I guess is going to be some sort of transposition. After castles, knight g6. White played d4. Sergei played this. Shaposhnikov took. Black played knight takes e5. Knight takes e5. Pawn takes e5. What the hell's going on here? Interesting. We decided to play queen f3. Not sure if that's a convincing refutation. Arsenal could also take, but I think, e5 is on the verge of looking looking dangerous here. So you have to play bishop e6. Now this doesn't look that bad. It looks like you can hold it. Yeah. I still think you played knight e7 too early, but it's playable. There's another game. No, that's the same game. Okay. So white does this. Let's put it this way. I'm not a big fan of b4 in general, because I think in the long run it can sometimes weaken white's queen side, and it's limited what you actually achieve with it. But I'm almost certain that it's definitely not particularly appropriate against the early knight e7. I don't think it has any special benefit there. So I'm not a huge fan of b4. There's a few games here. Now from this position, Bortnick, though I don't know there's multiple Bortnicks. I thought the one in the US plays like, I thought he's like with the Y. The Ukrainians are tricky with the spelling and stuff. Bishop g5 looks weird. Bortnick castled. I mean, this is a weird move. And I'm not sure I like this. What does it do? I don't see a connection between b4 and bishop g5, really. You know, you're happy to play knight g6. And it's like, what's he going to do? h4? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't want to lose my dark square bishop with white. Now he plays a4. Now you played a5. Obviously, you can play a6. You know, either or. But maybe with this dark square bishop out here, without the possibility of coming to a3, that's good for you. He just grabs this random space. And now, well, I mean, my problem with b4 and all this rubbish is that, you know, in the end, eventually, later, if you play d5, you're going to turn him in for this to be backward pawns. If, for example, we had something happen where this happened, let's just say this happens, like just as an example, I mean, whatever, if you want to do bishop takes b6, do bishop takes b6. Or white can maybe exchange, or black can exchange, rather. But in this kind of situation, what I'm saying is, like, oftentimes, sometimes these pawns can become kind of sus, you know? White makes a lot of pawn moves, like Karl Schlechter, but you need to keep the position closed for that to be okay. But also you can allow him to take on b6. I mean, this type of position you could definitely play like d5, bishop b6, cb, takes, knight takes. This isn't so bad. But I mean, I'm really, really concerned about this, man. What is white going to do about this, like, dinosaur coming into f4? He'll have to act pretty quickly. Not to give you, like, a kingside attack. You know, so... Hello there, and how are you? I guess we're all pretty good. So I guess my question to you would be like, well, I think we have to do h6 at some point. Why not just do it now? You played this, c6, controlling the d5 square, alright. I guess c6 is a fine move. I like that there's no bishop a3. It will slightly weaken your structure, but it gives you bishop retreat. Yeah, this is forcing you to defend f7. And now there's a problem here where your queen may be overloaded. Well, I mean, clearly you have to protect, so castles is pretty much obligatory. And then he takes, and you have to take with the G pawn, which doesn't look great, but you're playing a Sveshnikov. This isn't always as bad as it looks. It may not be that bad for black. Ultimately, you have the chance to undouble your pawns. Your king goes to h8, the g file, blah blah blah, the dark squares. I'm not sure this exchange necessarily benefits white. It could also backfire. I mean, he's taking the time to play b5, and now he traded it off on c6. So, you know, it strikes me that white's play perhaps a little on the routine side. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, how does this exchange on c6 benefit white? He opens up the b file, but ends up benefiting you, possibly. And now queen c2. Obviously, we have to consider queen a2, keeping on the diagonal. So you get in d5 now. So if he plays queen a2, not giving you d5 right away, you could try to set it up with knight e7. You can undouble your kingside pawns with f5, and you have a lot of options. But I do think that white is probably slightly worse. Yeah. Okay. So now d5. Okay. Well, you're going to have to be responsible for this space. But I guess you can just comfortably play bishop e6 at some point. It's not clear he should give up the center here. You know, bishop a2 needs to be considered. Ultimately, do you really want to do this, for example? Maybe. I mean, if this knight is strong enough, we're going to just like crush him on the king side. But you also might just want to like keep the tension, I don't know. I think the important thing is that you're going to kill him with knight f4, king h8, rook g8, and it's just a massacre. It's a massacre on the king side. But I'm not sure exchanging this helps white. Does this help white in any case? He sticks the bishop on b5. Alright. That shuts down your rook. But now your central pawns are ominously strong. And you just played f5. Fundamentally, I don't know, man. It's kind of amazing how you've gone to like +2. You've done nothing spectacular, but your control of the board is just so much stronger than white's here. Your control of the center is just so much stronger than white's. Look at the center. Arsenal is just like owning the center. And now there's like, the consequence of owning the center is going to be the ability to shift to a strong kingside attack. I don't think you need to play f5. You know, I think you could probably just kill him with king h8 and a very direct sort of piece assault. I mean, knight f4 is extremely strong. But it's not going to be enough by itself. You have to get the g file clear. But I see f5. Okay, I see what you're doing. You're getting the queen in. So it's not just about the pawns. Arsenal's opening up his queen. Total domination. Yeah, I mean, now it's like d4 is bad, but it's like lost for white. I mean, I think he's in big trouble no matter what he does, honestly. It's amazing how quickly one can lose with reasonable looking moves, you know. But this is kind of like speeding up the process. Black just stampeding now. You've also got bishop back to c7. I mean, you have everything here. Rook b6, rook swing over. Did you gift him like a wooden club after the game? Queen g5 is pretty primitive. I guess white could try to blockade with f4. You play any number of moves here. King h8, queen h4, Bishop c7. I can't believe the guy doesn't play king h1 here. Alright, knight d2, knight f4, oof. And then g3, only move. Yeah, this is nice because you clear that again. h4. Arsenal didn't even want the material. I mean, he could have taken here, obviously, with the crushing advantage. But you know, you don't win the game by, by nature of one knight. I mean, you've got to get more pieces ready into the battle. So now I can play queen g7. Okay, fine. It's an irresistible winning position. There's almost no way White can defend. This is the only chance, obviously. Now what, like queen h6? It's possible queen h6. You move the knight. f4. You gotta watch rook g1. But he has knight f2 to worry about as well. And now you played f4. Oof. Yeah, I don't think king g2 is great. White just doesn't have a move. He just doesn't have a move. It's really sick. Objectively, I don't know. Queen d1 I would probably play. You got every sort of threat here. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I would recommend shielding your eyes. It's just really ugly. This is really ugly, dude. Everything wins. And there goes the rook. And he resigned. Yeah, crushing. You know, it's amazing how quickly that fell apart for White. Very, very nice, sir. Thank you, Arsenal fan. That was Arsenal fan game from the 4NCL. Alright, Tomas Trainson in the house. Thanks, guys, for submitting your games. We'll be back tomorrow with Rapid Chess. See you later now. Just kidding. We just started. I've got Tomas Trainson, Anonymous, Asterbait. Is Tomas here? Guys, don't forget to support the stream. It's your last chance to donate for the month of March. Today and tomorrow. Right, crushing kids is always fun. I agree. Actually, crushing anyone is fun. Except for my good friends. I like to crush my good friends. Crushing anonymous noobs even is fun. Helpless children. Alright, Arsenal. Thanks for the game. This is Tomas Trainson against Stapvargan. He took his beating politely. Yeah, he needs some work on his Joko Pianissimo. But I gotta be honest with you. I'm a little bit dubious on that early 97. You better double check that. That's okay. Karo Khan. Tomas is white. Alright, d3. King's Indian attack style setup. This is a very common move order. And usually black plays d5. Some people play e5. And I guess g6 is a possibility. That's about it. This is a very strange move from Stapvargan. He's playing the Stonewall defense, and against e4, he does this sometimes. I mean, obviously this is inferior. But White's playing a slow setup, so it's hard for White to really take advantage of it. I would recommend Tomas here, in all honesty, to probably transition to something a bit more aggressive. I mean, something like f4. You're talking about d4, of course, Arsenal. I mean, if you want to play d4, a tempo down, it's fine, of course. F4 is fine too. F4. I've seen Magnus playing this type of stuff actually against the Caro-Kann. Literally. And then here Staphorgen's down the tempo. This taxi driver type of setup isn't as stupid as it looks. Another idea for Thomas would be Queen E2. To play Chigorin anti-French because of the move E6. Well, White's almost always going to put the bishop on G2. You could put it on E2, like a Larsen Sicilian. Someone on Sound is doing that in the closed Sicilian, sure. Yeah, you're always playing for F4, F5. But anyways, I don't know. I mean, knight D2, it's fine. You're playing a standard King's Indian. D5, now knight F3, bishop C5. Okay, so this is interesting. Probably I guess not probably. Objectively, this is a mistake. Okay? But he's trying to be, like, practical and induce his opponent into playing, like, a structure maybe he doesn't want to play. So, obviously, if Thomas liked playing d4 against the Caro-Kann, he would play d4, but he didn't. So, you know, in a sense, although this move is incorrect, giving white d4 with tempo, yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, what's black going to do? Bishop b6, maybe. But clearly white has a good position. It's just a practical move. And you know, I think it's fine to play d4, and it's okay to not play d4. g3 is fine. He has queen e2. So, the queen b6 might be dubious. I mean, well, bishop c5 is definitely dubious, but queen b6 might... It very well might be dubious. Very dubious. Because we cover it easily. And there's no bishop a6 with that queen on b6. So I don't know. Now that bishop is in danger of getting trapped, there's a couple problems for black. I mean, how to get the pieces out. This bishop's problematic. The knight can't come to its best square here. If you play knight f6, I mean, personally, I don't know. I would rather put the knight on f6, but knight e7 gives him the ability to be able to move his f-pawn. This is early knight b3. Possibly a strong move, though. I mean, I expected black to play Staphorgen to play knight f6, threatening knight g4. And if we play bishop g2, you play knight g4, we castle. Black's position looks dubious. Yeah, we've got h5 d4 or something. Well, can't do it. Anyway, it looks dubious for black. I mean, pawn takes pawn, c4. I'm not betting on black here. But on the other hand, maybe my fear is that ultimately this knight on b3 might be misplaced. It's probably not a problem. We have a4, a5 like in those advanced Caro-Kanns. This is going to be a good advanced variation now for white. That's exactly what happens. It basically transposes to an advanced Caro-Kann. Black plays bishop d6 and then e5. A very good sort of knight d2, knight b3 advanced Caro-Kann with just space advantage for white. This is like insane. So I don't know what kind of drugs he's smoking, but obviously black's in big trouble here. Although maybe he had no choice. Because if bishop c7, it looks like the queen is pretty much in a lot of trouble. This is horrible for black. Horrible. Nearly lost. Check here. Bishop a5. How is white not winning material by force now? It's unbelievable. So we must have it, right? Bishop e3. Black will go back. Man, I don't know, dude. I think that Snapdragon's been hacked by Cheesy Noob. Or they're the same person or something. This is really crazy. I realize it's just a 10-minute rapid game, but still. I like the way Thomas played it. He grabs the bishop on a5. It's a strong piece. I don't think it's mandatory, but it's this good bishop. Computer probably would take this as well. So, now what? A good King's Indian attack. The only thing that concerns me for white is this coming out here to this diagonal. $201, is that your phone number? Alright. Guys, we're taking analysis games from our subscribers. We've got 8 games. 2 hours and 10 minutes remaining to donate to our fundraiser for Sladgie's pension, midlife pension. Yeah, I don't know about d4. This to me looks double-edged. Does the word unnecessary come to mind? Okay, first thing that jumps out at me is Queen a6. Now, very interesting battle for control of this late square diagonal. Now, I don't think Thomas should play d4. I would say castle kingside. And in the case of castle by black, we have a good chance to launch a kingside attack. I wouldn't go that far, Arsenal, but I do think that d4 is unnecessary. I bet the cheaper spieler would play this. No, after queen a6, knight a6, white's a little better spatially, but it's probably not so bad for black. I guess here we have this and bishop a3. Maybe I'm still... Yeah, okay, but queen a6 isn't forced either. He could come back. And then try to play bishop a6. So let's say castles, b6, rook e1, bishop a6. And now where do we put our queen? It probably has to go back. Queen e3, knight f5. Queen f4 is interesting. If h6, h4. After queen a6, knight a6. Sorry, I'm a little slow. Yeah, that's what we said. I said b3 and bishop a3 with advantage to white. Maybe that, you know, this just doesn't cut it. White's just too... He's going to be able to undermine this too quickly. For example, like bishop f1. Black's going to lose control of, you know, this diagonal. It doesn't look so good. So black plays c5, giving the position a kind of winnower French feel. Now what would Nimzovich do? Castles is fine. That's what Thomas played. But I do think you have to consider pawn takes pawn. Obviously, you know, you're giving up your strong point, but there's possibility to use the square for the pieces. He castles, and then black plays this. And now he does take, interestingly. And the queen looks kind of misplaced. Right, without a dark square bishop, black's always going to have some issues. It's like a Winnower where you didn't double white's pawns. It's just a winner where black doesn't have compensation for giving up his dark square bishop. I mean, unless he really can whip up some play on the light squares. I don't mind taking on c5. But I think that white has to be conscious that black's, you know, it's sort of like his only chance is this like light square play. I can't see how a3 is a good move, really. To me, this move just weakens us further on the light squares. I mean, I guess he's just trying not to lose his a pawn. But obviously, you know, white could play a4 here. a4, you know, if b6, b4, and, well, black has some problems now. Yeah. That's why, I know. I mean, clearly you move the a pawn to defend it, but it looks like it would have been better to play a4. Because it leaves black in a pretty bad situation. I think he has to play queen c7. I mean, I'm not 100% sure if this is better than a3, but I don't like, you know, the weakening of those squares. This is interesting, you know, kind of Bronsteinian. Maybe we can't sacrifice this. But I would assume taking that pawn's pretty dangerous. Okay, you don't have to play b4 right away. I was concerned about this. But I think a4 is worth considering. Yeah, it's the #1 move by the engine. This like weakens our light squares. May not be a big deal, but I mean, for example, his queen can go to a4 and swing out over to the other side. I mean, I think he should seriously consider this move. Even though the queen looks very misplaced here, it's not that easy to attack it. And it could swing across somehow later on. But I mean, obviously in a short time control, this is safer. He also needs to consider queen c7. You know, and you need to evaluate c4. Whether or not to do that. But black is just horribly passive here. I will say that Safargan is a strange player, unusual player, and a good defender. He saves some horrible positions against me. Now you go for the dark squares. You know, at the end, I mean, maybe he saw queen c7 and he decided not because of this. At the end of the day, maybe that's what it was. He anticipated bishop c5, and so rook e8, white has a clear advantage. But see, this move trades pieces. I mean, you have a classic kind of space advantage here. So I'd really rather not trade pieces if it's possible. This knight on c6, decent refers plurally. Decent, mark decent. Notice how the knight on c6 bottles black up. No rook and no bishop. This piece very much bottles black up. I think you're letting him free his position slightly with this exchange. I was actually looking at the crazy sort of knight g5. I mean, given that f7 just became weaker, you're actually threatening queen h5 there. Would it be interesting to induce like a weakness in black's position and play? No, attempt to induce a weakening of black's position here. I mean, it's something you should at least consider, right? If h6, okay, you retreat, you try to recycle. Maybe strategically, this is just good. I guess he can play b6. There could be a tactical problem. But it's something to think about, Tomas. Knight g5 is worth considering. I can see you want to get out of the way of your f-pawn. So knight d4 is kind of a natural move in that respect. Now the other thing is, like, you could change plans and play c4 at some point. This is a lot like the Caro-Kann where Karyakin lost against Topalov. With I mean, if we change the dynamic and start playing c4 and just put pressure down here, black could get washed away with space, and you no longer have a backward pawn. What does the computer say? c4, damn. Chess is hard, man. Yeah, c4, number one move. So you played knight d4. I would probably trade. Like, give me that exchange now. What he does here is risky. It might be a trap. Here. It's a trap guy. The armadillo. You would actually have knight d6 there. Winning material. So, man, it's very possible he gave you an opportunity. I guess he could play this. Okay. Number 4. This looks really ugly for black. But if I'm black here, there's no way I'm giving you a chance. I'm definitely taking on d4. And white is better, but the position is getting more simplified now. And this was clearly your plan. Clearly your plan. f4, and then he does that. Which walks into h4, h5 headlong. But your bishop has d6. It's not a problem. Okay. This, again, I would rather not trade pieces, man. I mean, now you have it. I mean, isn't this like devastating? This is devastating. f5 might be good after knight g6. It might be, but I don't know, man. I mean, you can play f5 whenever. But what are you gonna do about this? This is devastating. I mean, what's he gonna do? Like b6, bishop e3, and now you're threatening knight d6. It's totally lost for black. f5 is definitely a component. You know, c4, knight d6, h4, h5, rook d1. It's over. You got me, babe. But the important thing is to get everybody in the action. Rook d1's a good move. But again, black has another chance to trade pieces. He does b6, and see, now you have to trade pieces, which sucks. You didn't win this game for a reason. Maybe it was time, I don't know, but this is a huge mistake. Arsenal says f5, and I'm sure that's a move. But I mean, the point is, like, okay, e5 is falling, and sometimes Arsenal gets a little carried away. We have b5, but knight takes d4. f6. My head hurts. It's an interesting idea. Queen h5 very well might be good. But it's certainly a more complicated way. I mean, I'm first of all avoiding exchanges. It's over after this. I don't believe that black can defend this. This is like 100% winning for white. The key is to avoid exchanges, because black is screwed. And as Tartakover said, man, knight on the 6th rank is like decisive. It's a positional win. You don't need to calculate anything, you know? It's just winning, and you know it's winning. It's just a matter of time. So yeah, huge mistake not trading pieces there. I wonder about bishop d6 here. But it does look like you have a huge lock on the position after bishop d4. I'm not sure it really matters. Maybe bishop d4 is better, because on d6 it could get attacked by knight c8 or knight f5. The question is, have you exchanged too much? Now it looks like over-preparing, maybe. The problem is you have 3 plans. f5, h5, h6, and c4. Okay, he's threatening bishop b5. It's cheapo. And actually staff argument is very tricky. Here, I like queen h5. That would block the h-pawn, though. It's true. The problem is he's gonna start swapping out pieces again. Now he's got dual. Okay, maybe f2. You made a mistake there. It's still not going to solve all of your problems. No, bishop h3 is interesting, Arsenal. It's a nice idea. Changing the dynamic. I like that. I like that a lot. It also allows for bishop takes f5 and some opposite color bishop positions. But again, I emphasize the number one thing is that Thomas should be focusing on avoiding exchanges. I mean, now black has some counterplay. Maybe he can try to open the A file, down the C file. It's looking like white is drifting. And now you're playing like defensively when it's really not obligatory. You played a little too hesitantly. I like the move g4 though. Stopping knight f5, giving you f5 later. Yeah, here is an interesting position. Maybe bishop f2. Maybe bishop f2 is better than bishop e3. Not to obstruct the rook. If you can do a rook lift, it's very possible this could be useful. Yeah, even sacking pieces on f5. Taking a knight on f5 to get opposite color bishops could be very critical. You also have this. Bishop on e3 seems a bit awkward. It interferes with your rook, and it also interferes with the defense of e5. And then this is definitely a mistake. So, yeah, he has a nice active bishop on c4, but we're still better. We still have more space, and I think you should still be playing for a win instead of swapping pieces into what might even be, you know, an ending where you're not even better. This is your good bishop, and most of your pawns are on dark squares. I don't like this. Man, I mean, honestly, he should... He should consider playing d4. I mean, what's up with, like, takes, d4? Does it lose a pawn? Does it matter? Well, it probably matters. Does it lose a pawn, though? This just looks fine for black. Well, my problem with rook fd1 was this. But who knows? Maybe you got it. You know, maybe you got rook c3. This is super weird, though. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm all set. Too many weaknesses for white. I'm bailing out and trying to draw at this point. We shouldn't have done bishop f1. Yeah, he sees the writing on the wall. He exchanges before you like wake up and decide not to trade bishops. I guess king takes f1 is okay. And now you're lucky if this is okay. You're lucky if you're not worse here. But I will admit, like, your bad bishop still has a lot of range. He just doesn't have a good outpost. He can't get his knight to d5. So his knight isn't that great. He didn't want to get pinned up on the c-file, so he plays this kind of passive move. It's pretty bad. I mean, where are you going to go? But still, your king is wide open. I mean, look at the light squares. It's not safe for white, this position. Not at all. So you're smart to swap pieces. At this point, you're actually okay swapping the pieces into this queen and bishop ending. Now you're out of danger, more or less. I mean, still he could try queen d5 and have like a million checks. But with that crappy knight, you know, he's not really going to be able to do anything. If he had like b5, knight c6, the computer gives black 0.8 advantage, which I agree with, but it's not enough to win. I'm actually surprised he gave you a draw here, because he likes to play for time. He's pretty quick, and he's higher rated, so I think this is a good draw for you. Maybe you offer the draw, I'm not sure, but definitely good to take the draw there. Swapping pieces when you have space advantage. Alright. This is anonymous player against Belarusian. I am. Oh no, sorry. I don't understand who this guy is. He's apparently Ukrainian, but he's constantly playing in tournaments in Belarus. This seems pretty strange. Alright. But anyway, this is just a simul, I guess. I don't know. Looks like a simul game? I'm guessing it's, yeah, simul. So you're white. Knight f3, d5. Okay, I've played this a lot, and it's annoying to play against the French, because there's no way to get an open position. I mean, other options for white are like c4 to take and play this move order. But there's nothing wrong with knight f3. You're going to put the knight on that square anyway. My other suggestion is knight c3. If you want to avoid main lines, it's okay. The problem is after knight f6, you probably have to transpose to the exchange variation or the Nimzovich variation with like push and d4. Which is okay, but nothing special. But it's a way to play against the French. But you did pawn takes pawn, and then you played a proper exchange variation with d4. Black plays bishop d6. Now I think you need to play c4. I know that's not the main line of the exchange variation. I should actually think about playing this move order myself. This is clearly the most dynamic move for white. The only dynamic move for white. You know, the nice thing about this move order for white is that black's committed to bishop d6. If you play c4 early, they can play other lines with like bishop b4, which are a bit more active. So this is as good as a place as any to play c4. If they play like c6, it's kind of passive. So, you know, they have to transpose to the exchange variation, or the Queen's Gambit accepted a lot of times with d takes c4. Yeah, we just saw a King's Indian attack. Wait, that was a Caro-Kann, or that was a French. I can't... We don't know if that was a Caro-Kann or a French anymore, Thomas, to be honest. Alright, so bishop d6, knight c3. This is weird. I don't know what this is now. It's like a winnower exchange where black doesn't play bishop b4. The knight's misplaced, but it has the maneuver over to the king's side. But needless to say, this is like a very rare variation. Renzo Mantovani managed to get a draw against Laputian. A lot of people play the exchange variation for a draw with white, but you know, you have to be careful not to be too passive. This is an idea, though. I'm not real familiar with this exact position. If knight e7, is knight b5 a move? Yeah, that answers that question. This is exactly what happened against the Laputian. White had knight b5. That's a nice little trick to know about. That's a point. Oh, that's exactly what happened? Oh, yeah. Well, that's why black plays c6. Killing your knight. So this knight has to recirculate over to the other side in a lot of cases. The problem is that black has two good squares for his bishop. F5 the best square. So bishop d3. No. Okay, I assume this is a mistake, and Asterbait would probably play it, but I mean, the problem is, like, okay, if you play bishop d3, he plays knight e7, and he's going to play bishop f5 anyway. So objectively, you know, there's no way to prevent him from doing that. But it's kind of the only game in town. I mean, the only other move I could see for white would be like h3 or something. I mean, what are you going to do? Knight e2 or something? I mean, it's pretty weird. So I don't really like this. It's inactive. It's like, what are you going to do? Castle queenside? Not a particularly effective plan. Now you just played bishop d3. Okay, so this bishop just isn't in a good square. It's a problem piece. I mean, I think, honestly, you should play here, here. You can see, like, this is a move. Strategically, what you want to do is exchange this bishop for this bishop. So if black were to play, like, f6 or something, you would go here, and then you would try to... Black's trying to trade off your good bishop, you're trying to trade off his good bishop, and the whole thing's a draw. Our Arsenal fan got excited. Knight g5. Excuse me? Knight g5? That'll prevent castling. That's an interesting idea, bro. You know, I would be really tempted to play bishop f5. Do you have something there? Some trick? Novelty. Arsenal novelty. I mean, obviously castles queen h5. Well, castles can't be played. Does this actually work? I want to see the refutation. And what are you going to do? This? Or are you full of crap? Why not h6 for black? Stop asking logical questions. Obviously queen h5. Mr. Coffee has some French experience. It could be an issue. Arsenal doesn't analyze details like that. No, I mean Mr. Coffee might be right. We're in a pin here. There are a lot of pins going around, you know. This is not clear. Yeah, black's better. Wow. Nice job using the engine, Mr. Coffee, to find the best move. Arsenal was inspired. There's a reason why no one's played that. The number one move is 92. Oh shit. Yeah, I don't know. I would think about bishop g5. Sabo Laszlo with black. Draw. Anyway, alright. We're going to continue here. Bishop e3 is bad. Bishop d3. Black can play bishop f5. I mean, this is the point. This is the point. Arsenal fan, did you watch like Pop G going over Sabo Laszlo games or something? He was doing that a couple years ago during COVID or whenever. Legendary Hungarian player. This is the point. Black's supposed to be trading off your good bishop. So bishop g4 is kind of weird. It doesn't make tons of sense. I think you should seriously consider going crazy here and playing like queen d2 and turning into Joseph Henry Blackburn with 92. You know, hopefully he takes here and we can like attack on the king side and castle long. Possibly even play king f1. You still have your Sabo Laszlo study. Okay. I'm not up on my Sabo Laszlo. I'm a bad Hungarian migrant. The only Sabo Laszlo game I know is like where like Stein blew him out with black in this like Richter Rouser. I really don't know my Sabo Laszlo. Okay, bishop g4, h3. This is good for white. No, I'm serious about this, by the way. Like queen d2 with the idea of castling queenside. I told the story a lot about Blackburn. You might, seriously, anonymous player, if you really want to like play this stuff, you should go back to like games from the late 1800s. It sounds stupid, but the exchange variation was what everyone played, you know. And if you look at like Blackburn's games from the later part of the 1800s, Blackburn played into the 1900s, but you know, the heyday for the exchange variation was like, it was like in the late 1800s. There's a lot of attacking games. I mean, this idea of allowing your kingside to get blown apart, I think he might have actually done it with his king on g1. I mean, even with your king on g1, you could play king h1 and hide your king on the light square. And black doesn't have a light square bishop, so it's very hard to attack you. But castling queenside is much sharper. It'll be like a double-edged game where black's pushing the pawns on the queenside. Essentially, Mr. Coffee could vouch for what I'm saying. Essentially, what you're doing is playing the exchange variation in reverse. You know what I mean? You're playing the black side. Well, now you definitely should consider castling queenside. There's two games here with knight h4 and knight e5. No, that's my brain saying knight e5. Knight e5 is an idea, but it's probably too early. So you got queen e2, knight h4, h4. A lot of attacking chances here for white. Castles queenside coming up. Not yet, obviously. Here's an interesting point. I don't know which square is better for the queen. D2 a bit more logical. So he just releases the tension. Never release the tension. Never get out of the boat. Unless you've got a really good reason to get out of the boat, don't get out of the boat, you know? The boat's not sinking. It's not been hijacked. Don't get out of the boat. Why would he release the tension here? To free his knight up to go to g6? He needs a reason. Bernatsky. That's his plan. Interesting. Nice move. I forget this is an IM playing black. Alright. Knight g6 also. So this Russian IM, or Belarusian we'll call him, because mostly he sticks to Belarusia, with the Ukrainian flag. Very interesting. Knight a6. Yeah, nice move. He's not committing to castling. A3. And now if he wanted to, he could go nuts on you with like b5, but it fails tactically to knight takes b5. So you also don't have to play a3. I mean, you could castle into it. I don't think this is such a big deal, actually. You should be more worried about the pawn storm. Maybe you should castle queenside. Alright, a3 weakens your position slightly. Black could play maybe queen a5. This is a bit passive. He's playing a simul though. Okay, so you're not committing to castling either. This is a good move. You need to get rid of your bad bishop. Did you have a chance? No. He's preventing you from getting rid of your bad bishop. And now you played knight h4. And that's a nice square you got there. Check, whatever. Bishop d2, queen b6. Castles queenside, castles queenside. Now it looks like pretty equal. Theoretically, you have a bad bishop. So f4 is a good move. I don't think black's happy to see that. Black somehow managed to be worse. He really did. He managed to be worse. You know, they used to have the series, like Bent Larsen, master of hypermodernism, Petrosian, master of strategy, or maybe it was Bofanek, master of strategy. It would be like Arsenal fan, master of assumptions. If you ever get the master title, that's the book you're gonna do. I love teasing you, man. I'm just kidding. Alright. Richard Smith, master of assumptions. No, it's a creative... No, dude, you got creativity. You got creativity. It's just that sometimes you... On the other hand, sometimes you get too carried away. But you got to give Arsenal fan credit for being creative. And he's not dogmatic at all, which I appreciate. Thank you for not being dogmatic. The idea here is idea of talking about knight f5, but the assumption part is like black has to take. We can't take for granted that black has to take. I think that's the point. But the honest truth is like, okay, make another move, like g6 or something. He has a lot of weaknesses on the dark squares. So we take this out, take it out, bishop b4. Bad bishop, weak squares. At the end of the day, like, white's really definitely not worse. You're probably still better. So, you know, maybe this assumption can be assumed. Maybe we have to assume the assumption that has to be captured, and then it's like a little awkward. Assume the position, Arsenal. Black will have knight c7. And then this, or this. You just like playing f6 in every position. He's doing this every game. Even if black's not castled kingside, he's still doing it. There was this tactics book by Richter, or maybe Curious, I can't remember which one, where there was like a whole chapter on f6. I mean, yeah. If there's ever been a chapter on one move in chess, like tactics, it's probably f6. f4. No, I like f4. And now black, I would say, like, this is a sure sign that black is, like, worried. He's worried. Now f5. Dude, you were, like, messing this guy up. I thought he was going to play c4. Good move, anonymous player. I love this stuff. c4 needs to be seriously considered. Otherwise, black's structure gets destroyed. I mean, is he just being, like, kind of materialistic, or is it about knight c6? Now you're f6, man. Jeez. Arsenal's like, I'm surprised he's not screaming f6, f6. Doing like a football chant. If f6 was ever appropriate, this is it, man. I'll take white for $10. Nice position. There's no way white isn't better here. Look at the so-called bad bishop. It's every bit as good as its good counterpart. Well, you don't have any pawns left to be bad. You sacrificed both of your pawns that were blocking the bishop, making it a bad bishop. It's not a bad bishop anymore. So f6 is really strong. Unbelievably, the computer thinks that black is still virtually equal after f6. This engine is a materialistic bastard. f6, 0.2 advantage for white. It's so stingy it will give white 2 pawns down here. It's so stingy though, it still only gives white 0.2 advantage. Because those double isolated pawns are so strong. That was a huge opportunity for anonymous player. You need that f6, man. It would be a very strong move. Alright, knight f3 though. Getting the knight back to the center, also a good move. He has knight g5. f6 still in the position. Black plays knight c6, and then he goes knight g5. Possibly he goes f6 later. I don't like this exchange of pieces here. If black can trade knights, he's okay. Probably. Although you're not 2 pawns down now. I thought rook d7 would be played. My assumption was this. But you have f6 now. So knight e5 is better? It has a very strong square here, yeah. That is freaking annoying. So I guess knight g5 was a mistake. I don't like letting that knight into c4, man. You're no end of that. Jeez. Yeah, this is a serious blow. No, I think at this point you have to be cautious and realize that you're slightly better, even though you're down a pawn. But if that knight comes into c4, it looks like you're losing, actually. Maybe he doesn't have time? I mean, damn, dude. I mean, this move looks extremely strong. Black doesn't have this. Like, how are you even defending this position? Aren't you just gone? It looks like your king is toast. You have bishop b4, but that's not gonna last. Bishop f4. Your other f4. No, your other f4. Oh, this is horrible. Just immediately lost. The knight on c4 is the mother. That's a killer, man. White has to play b3. It's a disaster. How did he miss that? It's a simul. I guess he's in time pressure. Well, anyway, he did it anyway. Yeah, he has it anyway. How did that work, though, actually? Wait, something... Oh, he's guarding f7. So he just plays h6. Okay. And now you're, like, lost. It looks like you're lost. The king is toasted. Though I'm not sure this is his only move. There's a5. This looks like a strong move as well. Though maybe that would give you more time to work out some sort of defense. Yeah. So he has bishop takes b4 here. I would assume nothing. Well, you're only down a pawn. That's the good news. 2 pawns? That's the bad news. Alright. It doesn't look good. You let this get out of control. Your king is an abomination. You're gonna have to move your king to b2 or something. You gotta get out of the pin, I guess. You're not gonna last long here. It's a pity you didn't play that f6, man. It was such a strong move. Yeah, nothing you can do. Alright. Lots of opportunities in that game. Guys, we've got 8 games. I've got to get to 5 more. Acer Bait is up with black. The Acer Mate. Guys, don't forget to support the stream by donating and subscribing. We've got anonymous player with 100 bits. There you go. Big money. No whammies. I'm almost as rich as the great Anna Kremling. Why is the Reykjavik Open so hyped up? You know, I don't get that. Every year it's like all hyped up. Is that like a chess.com sponsored tournament or something? Why is it so overhyped? It's just like a random open. A nice venue and location. Yeah, I mean, I hate the one section thing, though. I would never play in it as long as it's one section. I'm not going all the way to Iceland to have no chances for a GM norm. Though I suppose if they paid my expenses or stuff, I was a star blogger, star YouTubers, expenses paid. I'm just a small streamer. Iceland's nice this time of year. No, that's Greenland, Mr. Coffee. There was some Republican politician from, like, Wisconsin. What was it? The senator from Wisconsin. Who he never... I don't know if Thomas is still here, but... Some stupid right-wing Republican senator from Wisconsin was like... He's never learned that, you know, Greenland isn't really nicer than Iceland or something. This guy was elected to Congress. Oh yeah, buy Greenland. Anonymous player, thank you. Guys, it's Thursday. That's my first 100 bits. No, Snapfargan hit me with 100 bits. Alright, yesterday. Whatever happened to bit battles? Anna Kremlin took all my money. Alright. Masturbate, onward. C5. And then E3. Okay, Masturbate plays the Benoni with black. So, knight F6 and C5. Makes sense against the English. Now you got this kind of quiet move, E3. I think basically you should be happy when people play E3 rather than G3. It's more passive. The cost for bits on iPad is too much. Apple's such a scam. It just promotes scamming. No, D3, D5's fine. Of course D5 is fine. Aspirate, interestingly, here played knight c6. I'm just trying to figure out if there's any way White can take advantage of that move. The fact that White has played e3, e4 is going to be a... Yeah, he's adapting. It looks like it's okay. It was played by Wilder. I mean, the point is, if White grabs this pawn on c5, you play e6. And you'll get it back eventually. I mean, I suppose, like, theoretically, White could play, like, I don't know, knight a4. And then you have to consider giving up your bishop to get the pawn back with, like, take, take, check, bishop d2, queen c5. But you could also play... knight e4. So I'm not sure I really believe in knight a4. Van Velde played a3. Black just took the pawn. So we basically have a standard reverse Queen's Gambit accepted. Ace Aragoni. A relation of yours, Acerbate. So d4, knight c6, and then knight f3. So now we can transpose to a Caro-Kann exchange variation, or Pano-Bafinic with pawn takes pawn. Or you can play the semi-Tarash with e6. These are your options. Here are your options, Asterbate. Pano-Bafinic, pawn takes pawn, followed by g6 or bishop g4. Option B would be playing the black side of a semi-Tarash. And option C is to turn into Queen's Gambit accepted. Not a very good version, I guess. Actually, I'm not sure. I mean, is this really bad for black? It seems like it would just transpose. Bishop takes c4, e6. Castles, a6. We're going to transpose to a known variation. But I think the best, I mean, my preference here, Asterbate, would be to play c takes d. Play c takes d and then play g6. And you've got a main line. You don't get the Tarash. Yeah, so you play bishop f5. This is too much. This looks like too much. I'm worried about b7. Yeah. The problems with b7. An interesting idea would be like bishop g4 unprovoked. You know, it's very sharp in this variation. If we do pawn takes pawn, bishop g4 just barely works. And that's well-known theory. But for example, like bishop f5, it's only been played once. Maybe this needs to be re-examined. Stefanova played it. Queen b3, knight a5, queen b5 check, bishop d7. Holy shit. Dude, check this variation out. This is a thing? How does this even happen? I've never seen this in my life. This is awesome. C takes d, bishop takes b5, bishop takes b5 check. Oh no, my queen. It's Eric Rosen. So at the end of the day, black just ends up like down a pawn. You wouldn't think it was so bad for black. But it's like freaking impossible to get this pawn back. It's amazing. If only black could get the pawn back, he'd have a good game. That's really cool. But generally speaking, Aspate, you know, this is just too risky to bring the bishop out to f5. Okay, you're doing it without the exchange of pawns. Maybe it's a little safer, but Arsenal's right. I mean, I think this is the question. Although Arsenal's right, but I'm not sure how right. Maybe you know, white's supposed to play CD first, and then queen b3. It's very possible like this is the best line. Because if you play queen b3 right away, you might run into knight a5 again. What I'm concerned about Ars is this. So we get back into this type of thing, maybe the same thing, right? Check, bishop d7, and then pawn takes pawn. Are you freaking kidding me? Jesus, this is a thing. This position has never been reached. Wow. It's an actual thing. It's totally crazy. What's up, Move 11? Welcome. It's obviously equal. Mr. Move 11, sir. Wow. Yeah, I've never seen that theme come up before. It's so weird. Wow, this is actually not good because of knight b4. Alright, let's not be sure, because this involves grabbing rooks in the corner. It can be 20 move depth. This can be seriously heavy depth. And the engine needs to calculate like 25, 30 moves deep. Wow. C takes d5, knight c2 check, king d1, knight a1, queen takes b7. It's kind of like a London system. Somewhat of those crazy London system variations. But the line is pawn takes pawn. Okay. Arsenal's got the right idea, but you have to exchange the pawns first. I mean, the point is, like, obviously here, e4. Now knight takes. And again, you know, if you try to plug a knight on b4, you get hit, and the connection is cut off to c2. It's the same thing against bishop g4. Bishop g4, pawn takes, knight takes, queen b3. This position never been reached. It's no good. It's no go. White's center is too strong. Alright. Anyway, after long investigations, our hero faces bishop e2. So now, I mean, this is really not a threat. Black can just castle. At max, it would be a draw. So e6, a sensible move. Now we have a normal, for lack of a better term, Slav castles. A6 looks like a playable move. A3 he's copying, and now bishop d6. So I think the battle for the tempo here is important. You need to decide what to do. You need to either exchange on d4 or exchange on c4. I don't like losing a tempo here. I mean, I suppose you could play like rook c8 and allow this type of thing. Or at least you're like taking with gain of time and getting your rook across. So the rook can get out of the way and the bishop can do an acermate on h2. I suppose rook c8 is actually reasonable. But I would think like most people would either exchange here or take on c4. Alright, so he goes here, and then rook e1, the worst move ever. So obviously white needs to play pawn takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, d4, and then bishop d6. I mean, all of these moves are possible. Here, here, bishop d6. What a freaking minefield. The knight on c3 gets in the way of the fianchettoed bishop. And the queen's gonna have accepted for white. You know, there is the possibility of knight h4. I see he does that coming up. So bishop e7. I mean, this is definitely possible to keep control of e5. The pawn isn't directly defended. This is interesting, right? Reminding me of a Rubinstein game I saw today. I mean, this is weak, this is weak, this is weak, this is weak. Four things are like almost undefended. Yeah, I mean, if you go into that, you're sacking two pieces to get one back. Normally not a good deal. I guess you get a bunch of pawns. G5. G5 is inventive. And obviously if G4, H5, anybody can see that. Jesus Christ. But at the end of the day, it might fall. What I'm not liking is something like this. When my queen gets trapped. Well, not entirely trapped. I mean, it can go to f3, but this is still good for black, yeah. No, in all honesty, this looks pretty freaking dangerous for white. It's unclear. We're missing something. King h2, knight g4 check, king g3. Oh no. Arsenal fan refuted. Alright, I can't look at everything. But anyway, this didn't happen. I mean, white played rook e1, black played rook c8, and then he did knight h4, and now acerbate's sacked on h2. Basically the same thing. It's basically the exact same variation. I mean, rook e1 might make it worse, right? Because this is even weaker now. Idiot chess. You're talking about football. My assumption would be that the same variation refutes black here. I mean, you know, actually, I don't know. I mean, still there's some danger. Check. F4. But it's all smoke and mirrors. There's this. There's like knight F5. And it all starts to come apart. This. No, Asterbait, no. This only works in Arsenal World. But he misses King G3. This is a bit more interesting. So you did play G5, but what of the other variation with bishop takes H3? I have a really bad feeling about this. Does he have G3 here? I guess you could play Queen H6, and then if E4, you can play G5. Well, then bishop takes G5. Christ. Does this refute it? G3? Does black even have a move after this? That it would outright refute it. Because Queen G4, F3. I mean, I guess we're down a piece. No? No, we're not down a piece. We have this. No, I'm still not. I'm not proving anything here. I have not proven anything yet. So G3, Queen G4. Interesting. And it looks like you can't trap the bishop on H3 too easily. So Asterbait could have tried this. You're talking about perpetual though, but I'm not even sure we have a perpetual. You know, I'm not seeing a perpetual here. I don't know why there's talk of perpetual. It's just a question of how many pawns black can get. But he goes for the jugular with G5. That's the Arsenal fan move. The problem is it's a little bit slow. I would be concerned about like E4 maybe. Trying to blast his way through here. He plays F3. Like, this makes a lot of sense too. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense, except... And we can still do like bishop takes H3. You couldn't protect the H-pawn in that other line. But maybe that's not the point. You know. No, actually you can. You're gonna lose something though. You can go here. No, you can't protect the H-pawn. Wait's backward in development. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So black has 3 pawns for the piece. It's unclear. Probably what black should do. I'm not convinced by this. This is slow. By the way, do you have bishop takes here? Same thing, right? Takes. Queen F2 check here. Queen G3. I mean, similar. Same, but not the same. Similar. Simile. The rook e1, you know, disallows us from playing queen e1, which kind of sucks. And I think at the end of the day, like, king g1 doesn't really help matters too much. Now, this is so ironic. Acerbate plays bishop takes h3 now. But I mean, why not? I thought the point was to play g4. Wasn't the point to play g4? Oh no. It's g3 now. We don't here. Guys, who's going to be the bit leader this week? Move 11 with 5 gift subs. Stepfargan Anonymous tied with 100 bits. No. I don't know, Masturbate. What's up with G4, dude? You're all tapped out. Oh, those 4 NCLs get expensive. See, that's why I don't play over-the-board chess. They don't pay me enough for those, they want me to play in a team game this weekend. They're paying me, like, they offer to pay me, like, $50 or something. Dude, give me a break. I can play poker Friday night and make, you know, far more than that. I'm not going to give up, like, a night's poker to play a Sunday morning. I'm not going to give up a night's poker to play a Sunday morning torture game against some little kid who's rated like 2300 and he's like 13 years old. I have two matches left in the Hungarian Team Championship in April, and that's it. And I'm done for the season. All right. But I lost 3 games in a row. I mean, I'm kind of like retired for the rest of the semester. I don't care if they were strong grandmasters. It just hurts to lose 3 games in a row. It just I need a break. I need to recover psychologically. The fact of the matter was I was black against 3 strong players, and I played like really aggressively in the opening every game, so I got what I likely would get. Still, I just don't like losing. Alright, Asterbate. Interesting try, but now he can try to get away here with King F1. He'll try to make a run for the hills. Like, White has no development. But objectively, you gotta play King F1. His king would be safest on, like, A2, probably. Thank you, Move 11, for 500 bit donation. He's, like, hoping for a draw now. Yeah, I mean, this looks strong, but now Black has enough pawns. I mean, he has... I mean, he can take another pawn and, like, have 3 pawns for the piece. But I guess this isn't so attractive. Opening up the position, this could get dangerous. This could get really dangerous. The bishop, the knight, the rook. This is no time to get materialistic for Black. He's got to either do like G4 or just take the draw. What about F4? This has got to be our #1 choice. Yeah. We can't get the rook in. I mean, Black's attacking with 1 piece. If we play G3, White will defend the 2nd rank. So you really need to get like both pawns down. I don't know, Queen E2. What do you think? Rook E2? Look, man, I mean, it's complicated. Black could play for a win here. I wish he could castle. Yeah, it's very complicated. It's up to Black. I mean, White has no chances to win unless Black goes crazy. So g4. He plays this, which looks suicidal. But maybe it's not. Wow. Wait a minute. Pawn takes pawn? You have pawn takes pawn? Queen h2? Oh shit. You have pawn takes pawn. Oh my god. That's weird. You have pawn takes pawn. What he missed was f2. He missed f2. This is very natural. To just miss the possibility of f2. But it's like crushing. Jeez. Yeah, there's nothing he can do. Pawn takes pawn is just game over. I mean, I don't know. I mean, could White have done better after Queen G3 check? He can't play Queen G2. I guess he's probably losing anyway. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. It's like Queen G3 isn't really a blunder because we're winning anyway. White can't get out of it. Yeah. It was kind of a random pawn gift, but you're up a rook. You're up the exchange for nothing. Nothing to see here. Could aspirate with the pawn structure. He's getting better. He's scary. Very convincing. Astrobate in the endgame. Look at that. Systematic material. He's only used 6 minutes for the whole game. Impressive, dude. Alright. I gotta go a little bit faster. We've got an hour left in the stream. We've got games from Schumacher, Muleskinner, Big Dummy, and Morales. Thanks, Move 11, for the 500 bits. Alright. Sunspot. Uh-oh. You think after f4, just push g3, g2. Yeah, it's interesting. But ultimately, like, the whole attack was unsound because of king g3. Astrobate, you need to be careful of that. I think your whole attack was bullshit because White had the classic... I mean, what happened in the game was kind of unclear, but the king g3 was like lights out. You don't have a dark square bishop, you gave it up, and it's just really hard to attack his king. It's very hard to attack his king on g3 without a dark square bishop. He's building a defense around the dark squares, f4 and whatnot. King g3 followed by f4 is a very typical sort of defensive setup. You know, you pulled the trigger there in the wrong spot, but the player was too weak to defend. He just doesn't have the capacity. I mean, the average 1500 or whatever, like, doesn't have the capacity to defend such a position. So this is Schumacher with White now. Alright. Bishop g5. The Greek gift isn't working most of the times. Bishop b4. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to classify this as. It's easy to be like, oh, the Rogozin, but I mean, the Rogozin is against knight f3. This is basically playing d5 against the Leningrad Nimzo, is what we're doing here. Okay, it's not the same, it's a different move order, but... White has knight f3 or e3. e3 is by far the main move. There's obviously a reason for that. Knight f3 transposes to the Rogozin. And c takes d? I mean, my only issue here is queen takes d5. But I think it might be a serious issue. What happens after queen takes d5? Am I stupid? Queen takes d5? No, it's not the only issue. I mean, pawn takes is okay too. But that transposes to Rogozin. Is queen takes stupid? My issue is c5. Can black get in c5 real fast? Because this looks... It looks okay for black. Actually, knight f3 allows knight e4. Mastering development. SWAT has a game from 1994. Wow. He plays a lot. It's amazing. What a chess pro. Just constantly playing tournament after tournament in Serbia. He must be like one of the most active grandmasters. He's playing anything. Like, he'll play in anything. And he keeps his rating around 2,500. He finally started to go down, but man, impressive. So is this a thing? Well, we've got the standard queen a4 check, knight c6, queen takes b4, knight takes b4, knight takes d5, knight c2 check. My head hurts. I don't want to know about this. But needless to say, like, okay, c takes d isn't accurate. The accurate move is e3. It's funny that, you know, Schumacher of all people, I bet if I like search for his games, he's played this move before. Okay, that's interesting. But I just want to make the point that I think e3 is definitely White's best move. It's definitely the most accurate. And I'm sure that Schumacher has played it before. He could also play queen c2 and transpose to a classical Nimzo of some sort. This is only like mildly inaccurate. But then this is a horror show. Horror show. The worst move ever. Voluntarily trading off your good bishop for no reason. Without even like White having played a3 or anything. Terrible. At least play queen takes d5. Because at least queen takes d5 would give White a chance to go wrong. Actually, I don't know if this is probably best. Is it really going wrong? I don't know. It's not going wrong, but I would still take with the queen. At least this is like a little bit dynamic. Yeah, maybe knight f3, but again, like at least it's our turn. Basically, it's a bad Nimzo for black. All of his pawns are on light squares, and he has no freaking dark square bishop. Nice move. So now, by the way, like I think c6 makes it worse. But I have no idea what to recommend for black here. Bishop f5 is acerbate land again. Or queen f3. We could play it like Magnus Carlsen, Kramnik. It's a horrible position for black. What do you recommend for black here? c5, probably. Nah, I don't think bishop f5 is good. Castles is okay, but this looks ridiculous. c6 is way too passive. I mean, you could castle and try to play like b6 and bishop a6 or something, and transpose into a normal sort of position. If you get this, I don't know, but the bishop on g5 is annoying. Yeah, maybe knight f3 is a mistake here. There are other options. Well, the main other option is knight e2. Let's say knight e2, g5, bishop g3, knight h5, bishop d6. That doesn't work for black. He can't hunt down the dark square bishop. My problem is, like, this looks too automatic, but even this might be good. Because you have this. You're going to put the knight on d2. I think knight d2 at some point. And then the point is, like, we do the full, like, Uwe Boffinick, you know, center. G4 is maniacal. That's crazy. You hung out with Emery Tate too much. That's something I would do when I was like 20. There's no need for that. I mean, white has a huge position strategically. I think, like, this is very correct. And then it's just like winning for white. It's like the best Queen's Gambit I ever saw. Or like F3 Nimzo or whatever. It's catastrophic. Black has no counterplay. Has nothing. Doesn't even have a potential plan. I mean, G4 is like nuts. The problem is, like, white's king won't be necessarily that safe. Your position's too good to play G4. Rook E8. And then this is sort of stupid. No. Central. Here. Queen C2. And then Rook A, E1, and then F3, and then E4, and black resigns. Because the wave. It's like the wave at the football game. I don't know. Maybe even just like Rook F1. I don't really like it though. This plan is not as good. Though I don't know what to suggest for black. Like, can he play G5? I mean, is this seriously possible? I mean, it looks really bad. It's hard to recommend something better. Okay, here. Schumacher is playing Blitz. It's a Blitz game. He's obsessed with this. He's obsessed with the Pillsbury attack. But this is also very bad for black. You know, there's no way that black can trade any pieces. It's terrible. I guess actually... No, I don't see how black can possibly trade pieces. How can he trade any pieces off? It's a freaking disaster. No, it's ridiculous. It's over. And now you have your choice of, like, direct... like, punch in the face, or you can, like, you know, squeeze him to death like a boa constrictor. It's like, you know, which you want to do. I guess F3, E4 is a little slow because of knight H5 here. So the punch in the face may be more effective. Maybe F4, keeping this open. F4 directly looks very strong. Although I don't imagine Queen D3 is a mistake. He had to protect H7 in order to play knight H5, but it's way too slow. He's just getting blown away here. It looks like a 19th century game. Speaking of the French exchange in the 1800s, it looks like something like that. Yeah. Bishop H4. I would just play Bishop H4. F5 allows knight E4. The problem is knight E4, you're giving him a chance now. We shouldn't allow knight E4. After Bishop H4, it's like over. There's no defense. It's just a matter of time. I don't believe that black can possibly defend this position. Yeah, that's a beautiful idea of knight F7 at some point. But again, Arsenal's getting carried away. I still don't think you can do knight F7. You can't do knight F7 quite yet. It's close. But this is kind of unclear to me. We messed up. The first rule of Arsenal Fan Club is that you kick that shit out of e5 if it's possible. The problem is he had this. I'll still take it. You know, I'd rather like lose a pawn than have that knight sit on e5. I think I'd rather lose the pawn. Black has chances here. He could have played h5. Or, you know, Schumacher messed it up to a good degree. But now it gets interesting. Okay, white takes here, and now we have a totally different situation. The game morphs into opposite colored bishops. Dun dun dun. And now white has to decide. If he takes this way, it looks like fatal. f5 looks like that's totally game over. So you gotta do pawn takes the other way. He's gotta do d takes. Now this diagonal can open up. So c4, yeah, we're looking at this. And black's lost, but it's gonna take a little work. We have queen e1. See, this is an interesting move, but black has knight g6. And he might hang on. So, I think that, you know, Schumacher should just simply transfer his bishop to this diagonal. Yeah, it's over. Exactly. Idiot chess. No, I mean, that's the way to do it. If you can't play bishop h4, then just transfer it over here. That's winning. h3 is unnecessary. But black basically forced him to do it. And now even queen h5 is a problem. Yeah, it's definitely like time to tell your small children to go to bed, because the rest of this game is not going to be, you know, PG-13. It looks like black's about to get, you know, devastated by d5. And it's going to be very, very ugly. Phew. I'm just waiting for Asterbate to sack his rook on f5. Just such a solid move. No chance for the opponent. Now I just do want to comment on this though. It's possible to double up on the diagonal with bishop a1, queen b2. Could be an effective way to finish black off here. We don't seem to have a direct breakthrough. But now we do. Yeah, he found it. Nice, he did it. Yeah, very nice. And then e6, very nice. So we got this. We got possible rook takes f5. Rook f5. And a beautiful mate. Nice game. Alright. Okay, Mule Skinner is up next. The Skinner of mules. I have to check. I've got Mule Skinner, Morales. No, Mule Skinner, Big Dummy, and Morales. I beg your pardons if, you know, once in a while I might get games out of order. I can't remember exactly who's first, but you guys are good about it. I played board 5, by the way. 90-30 Gamey from Gamey. Oh, you played in Linares. I haven't been there in 20 years. So for Thursday, a 90-30 game from the last round of Primera Andalusia. So it's been a long time. I haven't played in Linares since like 2000. You played Linares A or 2001, I can't remember. We played Linares A in Linares, or Linares. It's game 6 and I'm white. Alright, here we go. So Mule Skinner playing in a team match in historic chess town of Linares in Andalusia. Game 6. I don't know why, but it's very strange. Like, how does Mule Skinner every single over-the-board game he has is a French defense. In order for that to happen, like, you have to play only French defense players when you're white, and have every single player you play, like, with white, play e4. Like, the last 20 games you submitted to the stream is a French defense. It's impossible, that you only have French defenses. Alright, e4, e6, d4, d5, knight d2, knight f6, e5. I think the Caro-Kann is more popular than the French nowadays. Knight fd7. Main line. So we've seen Neil Skinner play this before. c3, knight c6. And now so there's the two options. Actually, three options. This move I've never seen before. Apparently that's a weird move. Garamian. Wow. I don't know this guy. It's an Iranian born player who's lives in France. Very strong, 2600. But I think he grew up in France. Or not Iranian. I guess he's not Iranian, he's Armenian. My bad. I think. Therefore I am. But interesting player. Never seen that idea before. A form of gambit. CD4. Okay, it's probably stupid, but we have main line. CD4, CD4. First question is should black play c takes d4? I don't know. You play f6 with black, in that position. Here, main line. Speaking of John Watson, Garamian played something and take him out of book. He wrote the original, played the French. Yeah, knight f4 is considered to be secondary line. There's an exchange sack, very famous variation. So this is main line. But black plays queen b6. Yeah, so I think we have to ask the question, what's the point of this move? Dude, even king f1 is strong for white, I'm sure. What is the point of queen b6? To tempt white into sacking a pawn with castles? The only point I see is to give white more good options than he already has. Look at the statistics with castles. White has 75% winning chance. But objectively, I don't think you should sack the pawn. It just looks like a good variation with the queen on b6. This is just a mistake. The only question is whether you play bishop d2 or you really go for it with king f1. Like a Joel Benjamin advanced variation. h4. There's no need for you to castle in this kind of position. This bishop is ridiculous. White won almost every single game here, of course. It's terrible for black. I think king f1's even stronger than bishop b4. Again, not trading pieces when you have a space advantage. This is good, but objectively this is probably even better. But it depends on your style. If you like clearer positions. Well, bishop b4 is always going to be spicy or maybe positionally dubious. Black plays f6 now, so we transpose. But I just don't think the queen is very well placed here. What's black's main plan in this line, right? If you think about it. I mean, Watson actually talks about queen takes f6 in the main line. This is the main plan, to take with the knight, and the queen's on like d8, and it goes to c7, and you play bishop d6, and you try to push for e5. Or you can play, alternatively, queen takes f6. But here, okay, the queen's attacking d4, fine. But it doesn't do anything to help push through e5. Maybe some pressure here? Once we castle, though, f2 is secure. And so, bfd. You know, I think black has problems playing e5. Maybe the only point that's really relevant is that you're tying white down to b2. Varuzhin played this. The computer. Nigel Short lost to Vandervelde in 1985. I'm not seeing a lot of big names here. Feller won with his engine against David Howell, probably cheating. Rosenthalis lost against Kudrin. Tivyakov beat somebody. Michael Adams won, of course. It just looks like an inaccurate variation for black. So now bishop d6, and the question is, we're transposing to another line. This is still a main line. But I don't like that queen on b6. Theoretically. I don't think this is really correct. So white plays b3. Obviously it's not the only move. I've had this position for sure. If we look up my games, Sparkle Horse, Mr. Slowhand. I played bishop f4, I actually beat him. That was 3 years ago. This is Mamedov versus Akobian, 2010. I mean, I don't care about this pawn on b2. Black has to be careful. So, this is the key position. You have like different plans. You can play that. You can play bishop f4. You could play b3. You can play rook b1, which looks kind of lame, I would think. a3 looks weakening. Rook e1 I don't really get. Bishop d2, that's interesting. Rublevsky played that. So now, bishop f4, not sacrificing the pawn on b2. This is Adams versus Sabenik. Presumably like some Olympiad or European Championship. I saw this before, like something with queen c1. I mean, it's a thematic exchange for white. I swear it's knight e4, queen c1. Isn't it? Maybe not, because of queen... Black has knight takes d4. Maybe queen c1 doesn't work here. I'm thinking of a different position where b3 wasn't played. So, yeah. Yeah, we can't play queen c1 because this just drops. My personal preference, or maybe with queen on c7, right? Neil Skinner pointed out. My personal preference is to not play b3. But, it feels like a pity to retreat, but I mean the guy is all set to like sack an exchange on f3. I'm scared of rook takes f3. I saw a game in the Hungarian chess federation a couple years ago. In a similar position, there were some pretty booked up kids, and one of them played like g3 or something. It may have not been this exact position, but it was really close. So this is definitely... No, I mean, g3 is definitely a move. You have to calculate what? This. White's a little better. Cotronius played this. I mean, come on. He's a massive theoretician. g3 it weakens your white squares, but it's hard for him to exploit it. I kind of like that. I don't like allowing this exchange sack. You know, seriously. Okay, well, like, you have to calculate like crazy stuff like what happens here. Bishop takes e4. Pawn takes f4. And now we're talking about Greek gifts. Probably not. We'll just retreat, you know, sensibly or something. White is better. So this line, yeah, never been played g5. What does the engine say? I saw g5 on the radar. But h6 is an interesting novelty. Like preparing g5. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff here. I mean, it's still like very theoretical. I'm scared of rook takes f3. It's very disruptive. Harriet Hunt versus Aaron Summerscale. Gayash Berkesh, 1999. I mean, I don't know, man. What's the score here? Oh, knight h5. Wow, Leiko played that. 1990. What? Here we go again. I still don't believe that Leiko was 2600 in 1990. I feel like I've had this like discussion before. Is it really possible Leiko was 2600 in 1990? Are you sure? Dude, that was a long time ago, and I'm older than Peter Leiko. I find that a little hard to believe. He was playing in First Saturdays, like the first Saturdays. I just don't think so. You know, I don't know. There was no Blitz and Rapid Ratings back then. That's got to be a mistake. I can't believe he was 2600, man. In 1990? Dude, I was graduating from high school. He must have been like freaking 12. I don't know, man. But anyway, knight h5 is interesting. It looks a little over the top. Too loose. Okay. So novelty e5. Wow. So I guess the first thing we look at is like bishop takes e4, pawn e4. Yum yum. Thanks for the pawn. Exactly. Yul Skinner's opponent was a little optimistic here. You moved to the side of swamp. Dude, I was graduating from high school. Peter Leiko's significantly younger than me. I was like 20. I had my first rating? No. I didn't have a FIDE rating yet. I was like 2,150 in USCF. I don't know, man. I don't buy that Leiko was 2600 in 1990. Sorry. Knight takes e5, d takes e5. Does black have enough compensation? It's close. Wow. So did you have something better? You did what I thought you should do. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to recommend anything better. This seems like forced, Yul Skinner. So your opponent comes up with this weird novelty. He's impatient. It's a kid. Yeah, I like the rook takes f3. So what's the deal with this? It's unclear. It's better for white. King h1 or f4. What I like about it, though, is that it leads to kind of imbalance. The game is just... This is simplification, not so much imbalance. I mean, there is some imbalance, but it's much more simplified. And now, Emil Skinner played really safe here. But I've got to be honest. I mean, you have to consider all your options, including f3 and even f4. f4 looks risky. It looks risky. Well, they're all risky. Riskier. I guess f4 is too risky. I just don't like this. Yeah, that's what he played, queen d4. No, queen d4 looks like the safest move. It's the safest move. The computer doesn't like e3, by the way. It wants to play queen b5, trying to pick this off. And hitting this knight. e3 was impatient. Queen d4 was safe. But I mean, at the end of the day, this pawn is a little weak. So I'm not sure if Emil Skinner is winning or not. The problem here. Interesting decision by his opponent to allow queen takes b6 to try to activate the rook on the a file. I mean, Emil Skinner has no losing chances, but I'm not sure he's winning. I mean, I guess against a really strong tactical player, Black's going to have a tough time in this position. But I don't know about the h3. What about knight d4? Honestly, this looks extremely strong, Emil Skinner. Is there a problem with rook a5? Rook a5 is the problem here. If rook e8, it's game over. Rook e1 resigns. But rook a5, we don't have time to protect that and protect that. I mean, you might be able to play h3 in between move. Some kind of useful moves. h3 is okay, I guess, though. Well, no, I don't know. I don't really want to... I don't know if I want to let him trade. You know, that's the thing. I don't know if I want to let him trade. The question is knight d4 strong. Keeping that, dynamism with bishop versus knight on the board. What does the computer say? Yeah. I mean, there's the classic advice, Emil Skinner. All rooking games are drawn. I think you gotta, if you want to win this game, you gotta seriously consider this. But you were most likely concerned about, whether or not you could protect the pawn. Okay, there's a couple possibilities, but I think this is the only one I'm really worried about, like rook a5 type of things. You can play h3 next, though, which is difficult for Black to deal with. It's not clear where that bishop should go, It doesn't have a good square, particularly. Alright, so this is a mistake, and Black should, ka-ching. Black could play rook takes rook, king takes rook, bishop takes, king takes, and all for a draw with rook e8. And you're still better, but it should be a draw. Maybe I'll lose to Peter Leko here. But I mean, dude, you're giving him, he's way too close to a total draw. But this is crazy. Bishop d7 is nuts. He's got to grab this opportunity. Now you got it. You got the position you wanted. This is just extremely strong. I'm not sure you should retreat your knight necessarily. It's a very, very powerfully posted piece, so this deserves consideration. You know, rook e4. You have your pawn up, your knight is strong, and, you know, you've got a better structure. This looks a little sus. But actually, getting into d6 is okay. So you've made progress. You offered a draw here. Yeah, I'm like kid with no... It's probably a kid with no sense of sportsmanship. The Bucks. The Bucks stop here. Anyone ever say that? Well, people learn it like online, I think. They have no clue. It looks like you should just maybe play rook e4 and unpin yourself. I'm not sure a4 is good. This guy just doesn't understand that he should be trading. He thinks his bishop's better than your knight. He's in like a fantasy land. His understanding of this position is like Donald Trump's understanding of politics. Like, seriously, he has no clue what's going on. I mean, the knight is stronger than the bishop, and he should be, like, happy to exchange it off. But instead, he's, like, putting it on a6. I mean, after knight d6, dude's in trouble. Such a bad decision by black. Total misconception. Somebody told him bishops are better than knights. Yeah, this is too hesitant, but I guess you had to. You need to activate your rooks and attack his king. You're checkmating him here. Oddly enough, you know, there's no need. Probably you're winning with like rook c1 or something. I imagine you're like mating him on the back rank here. But such a tragedy for black. Yeah, exactly. Now he just like took the pressure off and he's just getting mated. Alright. But instructive lack of understanding by black there, you know. He had multiple opportunities to trade off your knight and he didn't do it. You didn't play that game cleanly, you know. You shouldn't have given him chances to trade off that knight. Alright, back to the study. Knight was very strong at immediate knight d4. You know, you found the right plans, but you were like finding them like, you know, after making some mistakes. It took you too long to find the right ideas. Alright, study. Hello. My studies. Sparkle Horse. Yes. Just arse. Just arse it. Okay, big dummy and then Morales. And we're out of here. Have a good night. Last two games. Unless, did I say big money? The Bucks. The Bucks. 14 cent upon loss. Wow. Well, you made a lot of like really, really small mistakes, and you were never in danger of losing. So the cent upon loss makes it look better than it was. You never made a blunder. Alright, a lot of inaccuracies. So big dummy's white. Oh no. Tell me to play, remind me to play the Pierce against big dummy. Bishop d3. I think our friend Schieberspieler played that or something. You almost never see this move. I guess c5 transposes to a c3 Sicilian. Reynolds is like, what a good idea. Well, I don't think it's that great. It's kind of like bishop e3 against a Nimzovich. Hey, you have a bad bishop on d3. What a great idea. You know, there's also f3, right? That can transpose to a same-ish. Arsenal fan revealing... You're revealing a lot about yourself, you know, with that comment. I'd like it for preventing the queen trade if e5. You reveal to us all of your like deepest inner fears. You're secretly afraid of endgames. Although actually I feel like you play like decently in the endgame. Or maybe he's not afraid of endgames, he's just afraid of trading his queen. I think you should go to a psychiatrist. Preferably a sports psychiatrist, but you got some issues, bro. I would know. Alright. I'm experienced in both studying psychiatry and receiving it. But alright, we all have our issues. Now an unexpected move. 92. So this is doubly weird. Here's an interesting game. Anatoly Lane against Carl Berger, 1988. I will bet you guys that was the National Chess Congress 1988, and I played in that tournament. The question is what section I played in. It might have been under 2200. I probably played in the under 2200 section, and I remember I played this Cuban former master. It's funny. 1988. Definitely Leiko wasn't 2600. Next thing you're gonna have like Leiko, 1988, 2600. Come on now. I was in the B section. Carl Berger is old school master. I'm that old that I remember these like old guys. He had one of those like kind of old man's hats, and he would like sit at the board. He was really big, rotund. He wore like suspenders. I like the fact that my chess career bridges generations. Alright, bishop g7. Castles. He probably played in the US Championship in like the 60s or something. Castles, castles, and then c4. Dude, this is a really, really weird way of transposing to a Sarawon King's Indian. Interesting. But I was talking about this with one of my students. When you play the black side of this, normally the position would be reached by a different move order. But I think you see the bishop on d3. It's like a Marazzi. And the weakest point in white center is, of course, the d4. The dark square d4. So black needs to put pressure, should attempt to put as much pressure on this pawn on d4. I did have a couple games where people played this against me, and I transposed. And this is surprisingly not that bad for black, even though black isn't really putting much pressure on the white center. I'm surprised it's not worse than it is. The point was like c5, d5, knight e5, which I found interesting. I thought about playing this for the first time with white. I lost to Prohashka. I lost to Larry Kaufman. I played exactly 2 games on the black side of the Sarawon, and I lost them both. It's such a rare variation. Kaufman I lost in a drawn rook ending. I wanted to kill myself. But the game against Prohashka was also a very, very long game and an end game and very tough. But I felt like I was worse. I was worse out of the opening in both games. Both games I played like knight c6, knight c3, and knight h5. But I'm having doubts about this move. This was recommended by some modern, author like 15 years ago. But I don't think this is necessarily right. We're putting pressure on d4, but putting the knight on the side of the board. What about c5? Do we have a Benko? Master? What is this, a Marazzi or a Benko? What's the snowflake icon? Is there a snowflake icon? Where? I want to be a snowflake. A chess snowflake. No, seriously, what do we do on c5? d5? What about this? Frog, you have one? Where? Oh, yeah, no, he's had it forever. Direct relief. That's an old one. That's from Charity 2018. I don't remember what that was. Damn, that's how long I've been streaming. It's a donation thing. It's ancient. So this is interesting. A nice attempt by black to get active. c5 could take advantage of... It takes advantage of the fact that white's knight's not on c3 already. Yeah, 4 is too much. Most of your suggestions, Arsenal, tend to be too much. You lean on that side. But I find oftentimes in practice, you don't. It's like you want to be like psycho-aggressive, but your instincts tell you not to do that. I'm struggling today to remember 5 minutes ago today. Yeah, I mean, I've had high blood pressure diagnosed recently. Although it's under control, it's not crazy. But I saw a study yesterday, WJ Loof, that for the first time they have hard evidence that high blood pressure actually, they're finding like more and more direct links to dementia, which is interesting. Maybe that explains undiagnosed like high blood pressure for 10 or 15 years, and I already have dementia. Let's see. So c5 I like. Knight c6 is normal, but you played h3. h3, knight e2, bishop d3. It's like a... Dude, this is like a... Dude, you never play like this against me. You're really high lately? You're injured and on painkillers. Just saying, like, another reason to keep the blood pressure down. Apparently, we're seeing a direct link with dementia. It affects parts of the brain. As if we didn't have enough reasons not to have high blood pressure. But I really don't want to get dementia. Yeah, he hit you with knight b4. Dude, you're just asking for it. How can you play h3 here? It's a salad. Ivan Sokolov played knight d2. Wow. That is so weird. That just can't be... It can't be a serious move. Knight d2. Unbelievable. I don't believe this bullshit for a minute. Knight d2. That just doesn't look right. I don't believe that. I'm sure that black has a good answer for that. So he plays whatever. I don't care. Okay, it's not serious. You should play knight c3 and transpose to a normal line. This h3 is bad. So he goes into it. Yeah, this is a problem, man. Bye-bye, bishop. The question is like, okay, interesting. How big of a problem is it? Well, I mean, just trading pieces is enough. It's similar to the other line I was talking about with knight on bd7, c5, and knight e5, and take the bishop out. It's a bad bishop, but it's still a bishop. Black has a lot of flexibility with the pawn structure here. And h3 is, you know, not very scary when white's castle kingside. Chop, chop. I play the English defense, and there's another variation in that. I mean, I like this for black. But I'm objective enough to know that black's not, like, better or something. But black has to be accurate now. I'm not really sure what black should do. You know, even the weird, like, knight d7 looks a little slow. How about c5 transposing? What do you guys think about transposing to... So it's worth the tempo for black? Yeah, I think so. I mean, to be fair, it's not the only way to play. I kind of, you know, c5 is interesting. Your opponent's move is interesting, but it's slower. a6 is interesting. What does the computer say? It likes white a lot, and it wants to play a6. Wow, the advantage is way bigger than I thought. It doesn't like this line. Holy crap. So the engine hates knight b4. It wants to go knight h5. Wow. It's a hybrid. Very interesting. I have to admit, I would have thought black's okay. But it looks like it's not enough to fully equalize. No, b6 is not so stupid, Ars. It's not a left field idea. You're playing the hyper modern. The hippo is always good. Except when it's not. No, it's a reasonable idea. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad. a6 for the IB, this is a little more dynamic, bro. You got b5s in the mix now. This is white square. We're looking for a white square implosion. a6 is more dynamic than c6, and you can see why. Here the plan is to play b5. It's a nice idea. This looks like the best. Plus you could play maybe like c5 and b5, turning into a Benoni where a6 is already played. If white plays a4, he weakens his position. Nothing special. a6 is definitely the best move. This strat of b5 is serious. I mean, if white is asleep at the switch, this looks actually really strong. We'll take care, Morales. We will go over your game. I'm sorry you had to leave. Takes. I mean, any kind of this is compensation. Well, this is more than compensation. Black's like winning almost. This is like almost winning. Very bad for white. Alright, so a6 is the best shot. a6 and b5 not quite as good. Here, horrible move. Beep, beep, beep. What is that, dude? Queen c7.
No.
Queen c7. That's gross. Horrible move without a plan. Horrible with the hard H. That is a terrible move. a6. b3. Okay. This is not a King's Indian, man. What is black doing? Yeah, black just doesn't have a plan. He's playing the zero plan. Although, objectively, your queen didn't sign up to go to d3. I feel like your queen maybe, you know, should just back off to d2, where it plays a role in the diagonal. I don't know. Queen c2 is weird, though. It's like he's trying to stop b5. but you've already stopped it. I would think this, maybe even go Arsenal style, like f4 at this point. Isn't that ridiculous at this point to play f4? Queen c2 is a weird choice. And then finally black plays e5. But I would call it like a patently sort of dubious King's Indian. But the next one, I mean, the King h1 isn't that stupid. Yeah, I guess you're right though. It is kind of weird. Yeah. I mean, it looks like he's preparing for this f3. But I agree, Arsenal King h1 is a little odd in this position. But clearly it's a practical move based on like just waiting to see what black's going to do. There's an art form to like just moving your king back and forth, bro. That's not your style. You know, you would have liked this guy. What was his name? Tylovich. There was this master from Russia. He was like a kind of 2300. All he ever did was like move his king back and forth. He was like the master of moving his king back and forth. Playing for a draw every game and moving his king back and forth. But he won a remarkable amount of games by doing that. It's pretty impressive. Privman did the same thing. There's a number of these like former Soviet era players who have this thing where they sort of like goad you into winning. I mean, goad you into losing by just frustrating you by like apparently playing for a draw and just moving their king back and forth until they make you go crazy. I don't know what we should do. f3 is definitely not a bad move. White has no bad pieces, you know. Well, actually, black does, to some extent. And now it's the same-ish. And this is probably best. Yeah, c5 is probably best under circumstances. Black has chances to play for f5. I'm not sure if queen e7 is a good move. He wanted to stop bishop g5. I don't know about this. Why is black not playing f5? I think we need to play f5 sooner rather than later. We're not getting a chance to play f5. Rook a1? That's subtle. Seriously, that is a subtle move. Rook a1. That's a weird move. Even the engine can't come up with that. Rook a1. Because I want to put it on the diagonal with that. Like, maybe he'll take. It's pretty funny. Again, it's like waiting moves. I'm just going to like make waiting moves till my opponent goes crazy. Hey, what is this? Game, by the way, what is this time control? It's 10 plus 3. Big Dummy's 1867. Wow. That is weird. Basically, he played Asterbait. It's Big Dummy versus Asterbait. The same sack as in the other game. I agree with King h1 was kind of a weird move. What just happened? He sacked a piece for 2 connectors. Interesting. Wow. This is so complicated. Black's playing for a win here. Your king is like wide open. Extremely dangerous position for white. I can't believe he won. I can't believe white won this game. I mean, the king is just totally exposed. Black should be like clearly better. There's a slight problem. Oh my god. Black just thought he was winning. It's game over. Holy crap. What? Wow. That's insane. That's a beautiful move. Black just thought he was winning, I think. He was like, your king's totally exposed. I've got d8 covered. That's one of the craziest moves I've ever seen. Rook d8 check. The sound, no question, h3 sack was sound. This is way sounder than Acerbate's thing. No, I think that black has at least a draw. Bishop h3 is totally sound. There's not even a question. It's like +2. Yeah. No, white shouldn't have allowed that. Yeah, but this final thing was funny, man. I think this is why he submitted the game, of course. It looks like white's in trouble, and then bam. So rook takes. If rook takes, pawn takes, queen, bishop takes, queen e8 check, king g7, bishop f8 check, king here, queen takes d8 check, king e5, and queen d6 mate. Out of nowhere, black just like got mated. Same thing here, queen e8 check, black resigns here, check, king f6, and then double queens. Same variation. Unbelievable. That's such a crazy end. Alright, Morales had to leave, so he couldn't stay for the whole game. I'm going to show you guys, I gotta go, but quickly we're going to go over Morales' game. I gotta pick it up here. From our simul, Morales, Sparkle Shark simul. Here it is. Of course I lost. Alright. He did ask me politely if he should put it in the... if I minded. Alright. Pain. The pain. This is a good game. Well, one of the more interesting games from the simul on Sunday last week. Guys, thanks to all of you for tuning in. Botez Live has followed. Apparently, like, Botez is now, like, a super amazing poker player, according to Poker Stars. Because, like, mastering poker is just, like, easy. You just, like, master it like that. Sure. It's like the Jen Shahadi thing, just accelerated. Overnight, you're like a legendary poker player if you're really hot. No, I don't think it works like that. Thanks. I'll pass on Poker Stars. Alright, e4. Oh no. Gambling is a sin. First of all, I'm not going to question you on gambling is a sin or not, but poker's not gambling. So you're absolutely wrong. You don't understand poker. Poker is a game of skill. You may be right about gambling is a sin, but poker is completely a game of skill. You're totally wrong about poker. You can, you can say what you want, but I'm not going to argue about gambling being a sin or whatever. Alright, e5. Bishop f5. Bishop e3. e6. And then we're black here against Morales. Here's a question, guys. What do you think about this? Like, knight d2 first and play knight b3? Or the Morales bishop e3 first, followed by knight d2? Did the chicken come first or the egg? I try to tell Acerbate all the time, gambling's not a sin. No, I try to tell Acerbate all the time. Botez is great, but no. I try to tell Astrobate all the time. Knights before bishops, right? So, knight d2. Knight d2 is better. Knight d2 is better. Like, you might not necessarily park your bishop on e3. Even the farmer likes this. Emil the farmer, my friend. But in all seriousness, okay. Bishop e3 is a line too. It has a good score. I played e6. Now he plays knight d2. The bishop jumped over the moon. And then I'm a little bit out of book here because I don't study the Caro-Kann on a regular basis. I play the Caro-Kann, but I don't study it, and I'm just playing on instinct. Freaking Morales plays g4. I'm like, what is that? So, as you can see, there are very few games. I'm completely surprised by this. There are 4 Zvagintsev games and Nair. So it looks like Nair was the first to play it. Zvagintsev was a student of Dvoretsky, and he has a propensity to play like unusual lines. Once we played in a Blitz tournament, he seemed like a nice guy. I respect his creativity. He played like knight a3 against the Sicilian. He popularized that. He's played a number of really interesting systems. But the fact that there's just 6 games is kind of a red flag here, I would say. However, you know, he was actually the first to play it. 06. Okay, so he played in 06, Nair 07, so it's actually Zviagintsev's variation. But he's played it as recently as 2022 against Rayev and lost. Bishop g6, and now knight e2. And so, okay, we see this idea in the other lines of the h4 variation of the advanced Caro-Kann. So here I didn't know. Okay, I'm not a big fan of f6 in the advanced Caro-Kann. Did Rayev play it? He did. Thanks, WJ Loof. Thanks for being a subscriber as always. Hope to see you. Bon voyage. So, but interestingly, you know, f4 is the main line. Obviously, someone's been doing their homework. Knight e7. I mean, this move is safer than f6. It's also strategically more correct. But this is a dangerous move, f4. So this is theoretical novelty. Morales style. Check this out. Yanev, who I assume is a Bulgarian GM, played knight f4 and lost against Omsk Police in 2011. But that move was like what I expected. And someone else played this ugly looking knight g3. Nair played knight g3. Knight g3 looks kind of weird. Not as good a square for the knight, but it gets out of the way of the pawns. So I guess like all of these moves deserve investigation. Nair drew with the Romanian Iurdicescu. But Morales comes with the freaking novelty, f4. I'm like, whoa, you know, oh shit, maybe I screwed up. And now I didn't know what to do. Guess what they do, dude? They sit around in tracksuits. There's this meme, there's this like Facebook meme called, they make fun of Hungarian stuff. It's called like Slavs in tracksuits or something, like a Facebook. Slavs in tracksuits. They sit around drinking vodka and analyzing like weird openings. Wasn't the real Botez live? From live from the Horseshoe, playing high stakes poker, because she has so much poker experience. She's obviously a poker genius. Dude, I had that on my phone the other day. I was like, please, why not Susan Polgar playing poker? It's ridiculous, dude. She couldn't succeed in chess, so now it's poker. I'd like to meet her backers. I hate fake people, you know? I mean, seriously. If you put in the work and you're good at something, you deserve credit for it. But just to rep it without having the skills, that pisses me off. 97 F4 and then H5 F5. This is an amazing idea by Morales. I think he studied this at home. So H5 is apparently a mistake. I'm supposed to play Queen B6, but there's no way I would find this move. This is like an engine variation. I don't play Queen B6 in the Caro-Kann. But the idea is to grab here and hit C2. This is actually really similar to some other variations. Arsenal, you might be aware. You might be aware of H4. H4 advanced variations where kind of similar lines crop up. My friend Pop Gellert used to play this stuff with white. I'm just like really not down with Queen B6. I don't like going out on a limb. You know, probably Dreyev did his homework and he figured out that it turns out that maybe F6. But let's check something else. What about C5, novelty? Let's push this engine. I figure I don't have a favorite Botez. I don't really like picking favorites. I don't have a favorite Botez. I don't have a favorite Shahadi. I don't have a favorite Polgar. But some of them are better than others. I just hate when people like they try to rep stuff when they're not that good, you know. It's just I put in a lot of effort to chess and poker too. A lot of time and effort. It takes time and effort to master something. And it pisses me off when like random people just try to like pretend they're good at something. When they don't have the results and the knowledge to back it up. 97. But what about C5? Let's go through this. I knew Morales would play C3. I figured he loves C3 anyway. He would play this. So this has never been tried. I don't screw Queen B6. I won't play Queen B6. Let's do Knight E7. Knight F4. This is uncharted territory. Wow, we transposed to Yana versus Ohms Palis. Wow. So this Spanish guy knows his shit. I don't know if he's a GM or an IM, but he's a well-known player who was forever, like, quite strong. He might only be, like, a very strong IM. I don't know, I never met him, but I know the name. He's been strong for a long time. 2489 is a freaking strong IM. He probably is a GM. I still refuse to play Queen B6, man. I won't do it. You know, we'll go here. Now H4. And we don't have enough. So it's like, yeah, you gotta go Queen B6. Okay. As long as I don't have to take on B2. I promise I won't take on B2. He beat this guy, this higher rated GM with black. This is interesting. He takes C5 and then Queen C7. This dude really knew his shit. I mean, he went for E5. That's interesting. So Morales created a whole new variation, basically. He's done his homework. And now F4 is like a novelty. And check out what happened. I was like, alright, I gotta do H5. Arsenal mentioned it. And I did consider playing like H6, F5, Bishop H7. Something like that. But as you can see, I can't defend E6. I mean, how am I going to defend E6 here after Knight F4? This is gone. Look at this shit. C5, excuse my language. Knight takes C6, queen B6. That's interesting. You could catch someone in this trap. It's like catching like a bug in a trap. White thinks like they're winning, and it turns out that it's not so great. You know who's really good in this type of position? Sarawan. I studied Yasser's games on the black side of the Caro-Kann in the old school Caro-Kann advanced variations, and you know, this type of thing, he had a match with Tiemann where he really looked good, you know. Dropping back with bishop h7 isn't so bad. You can do that. But I decided to be more like proactive, and then Morales just bam, f5, playing a freaking engine. So now I was freaking out. So here I thought, like, for the longest, should I take or should I go? You know, it's like the clash. I'm not going to sack a piece. Like, Asterbate would probably sack a piece here. It's very complicated. Should I play bishop h7 or take on f5? Fundamentally, like, you shouldn't give up your center, so probably bishop h7. But I was, like, pooping myself here. It's pretty ugly to play, like, pawn takes pawn, knight f4, and, like, bishop g8 or something. This is no good. So I was really kind of giving up on this line. I think at this point, I was very concerned. I saw something like this, and I just didn't like it. So I decided to take on f5, and then he just has the prep. So, you know, I thought, okay, worst case scenario, I can play like f4 or something. I remember thinking about the engine's move, c5, and saying, like, I don't like the look of this pawn on d5 after that. But it might be the best shot. This pawn looks kind of weak, is my problem. But you gotta play dynamically sometimes, but it's a simul and I didn't have time. Again, queen b6 is the move. Here I'm threatening knight takes e5 though. There is a tactic here. So like, this is funny. Here, a5, and white wins a piece. So I played bishop h7 with the idea of rerouting my knight. It's very awkward. And then Morales stunned me with this. I can't believe he played this. Queen takes h5. This is actually a bad move. So at least we know he's not a computer. It was like, I think Arsenal was watching when we played this. It was like, dude, that's crazy. What is queen h5 about? I couldn't believe it. You know, I expected okay, to take with a knight, right? This is a far more normal move. Takes to the queen, and so what do? I play bishop g8, because this is a good square to have my bishop on. I realize that's, like, ridiculous, but I figure it can get back eventually. I'm sure a lot of grandmasters would have played the same move. The engine finds this. That's impossible. This sack on e5. There's no way I'm going to find that. There's no way I would find this. Maybe in a long game, and even then I'm not sure. So the idea is apparently d4. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I was seriously worried about this, you know. Knight takes g6, pawn takes e3. Come on. I mean, white's going off here. This is crazy. So bishop g8, queen f3, knight h4, queen g3, and white's clearly better. I'm hanging on by my fingernails. And then he should have just castled with a massive advantage. Almost like game over. The computer wants to play g6. I'll just resign. I'm not going to play that. Seriously, would you rather play g6 or resign? Like, I'll give you two choices. I'll resign. I'm not going to play this. There's no way I'm playing that move. I have no bishop anymore. That's just embarrassing. I mean, maybe the thing is you just have to say to yourself, okay, I'm a piece down. It's just not a piece anymore. At least it's not getting in the way of the other pieces. Hey, the good news is it's not like blocking my rook on h8. I'm a piece down, but my other pieces are good. Just pretend you don't have a bishop, you know? I guess I should have thought about it like that. But he luckily played rook g1, and now knight f8, and that was my plan. to blockade here, like Pavel Blatny. Blatny likes to play the modern with his knight maneuvering to f8. And now, very dynamic move by white. But this is greedy. Morales is greedy, dude. Why can't he just be like normal and castle queenside with a good game? He plays c4. This is psycho. I was actually happy when I saw this, because I realized it was a little too much. Here, the funny thing is I don't think I seriously analyzed this move. I don't think I really took knight takes c6 even as an option. But to be perfectly honest, it looks kind of scary. I mean, seriously, if you ever got this position, right? If you had this on the board at a tournament, people would be staring at you how did that bishop get on g8? What is this, chess 960? They'd accuse you of making illegal moves and shit. They'd be like, what? This is chess 960. Dude, this is a normal tournament. You're not allowed to have a bishop on g8. So he takes, and then I was going to take back. I took here. I was going to take back with a pawn. And I calculated this a long time ago. The plan was pawn takes, bishop b5 check, and king f8. And I thought, okay, I have a bad position, but I'm hanging on. And then it occurred to me during the game, and I was really lucky I saw this. Against all fundamental logic, it wasn't even about this. I just realized that, hey, it's not so bad. If I take with the queen, I don't have my fundamental strong center pawn. But it's actually kind of tricky. He can't castle queenside because he drops a2. This is the main point. He can't castle queenside. So suddenly, and I'm threatening to castle queenside, and I could be better. And Morales plays this. And I was like, oh shit, okay. I should retreat. I was planning to play this, and then I was like, wait a minute. I can play knight g2 check. And honestly, I thought I was still worse at this point, because my position is so retarded. And I don't mean that in a bad way. But it really is. I mean, the literal meaning of retarded, bishop on g8. You can't get your pieces out because I cannot move them forward. My position is retarded. In a literal way. But the computer says I'm totally winning. But by now I had no time left. Morales, he played practically. I didn't have time to find the best move, so I just tried to trade queens. And that's a mistake, but he was afraid to trade queens, so he centralizes. And then here, I missed bishop h7, which was really good. So this is a big blunder. Bishop h7 is game over. It's game over. But I didn't see it. So I did the check, forced trade of queens. I thought, okay, I'm better, or I'm at least equal. And then he has this move, and I totally freaked out. I thought, oh my god, I just freaked out. I thought I was losing. Now I was like, oh no, Morales. Fired up the engine. No, he's good. He's a VIP. But he's strong and he can play amazing games. I thought I'm losing to him again. But I don't know, it was unnecessary. I mean, I thought I'm too far behind in development. I'm pinned here permanently. I assumed I was losing. But rook takes h2, I figured castle's queenside and white is going to play rook f1. It's unbelievable. I thought I was in deep shit here. It's amazing. I mean, I really thought I was almost lost in this position. Because you can't get out of the pin. At one point I played b5, but it was desperation. Because I just didn't know what else to do. It's you're hitting out at something that's attacking you blindly without a plan. I knew b5 was a bad move. But I didn't see how to stop this. But it's not a joke. He has a pawn on the 7th rank. I thought I'm in big trouble. You know, what am I going to do? Like, castle and allow his pawn on the 7th rank? Dude, come on. This is extremely dangerous for black. What am I going to do about this pawn? Computer's like, no problem, you're +4. I'm +4. Yeah, you have rook G2. Jesus Christ. Is that easy to see? He actually even has rook G1 here. Rook G1, bishop G1. I guess that ends it. Alright. So I didn't find rook G2. I played a horrible blunder. I could have played B5, bishop E3, maybe like A5. Would have been better than what I did. I thought, okay, we'll just break the pin, no problem. King F8, problem solved, right? Yeah. Now I made it worse. This is so stupid, you know? I gotta go, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, but I'm going to show you the rest of the game kind of quickly here. I thought I'm getting out of some kind of pin, but I'm getting into another one. It's really sick. Bishop F7. And so now I'm pinned frontally. Bishop F7, rook F1, and white is better again. And now I just totally lost my mind. I don't know. I lost my mind. I mean, I'm up material. I'm up a rook. I didn't understand I was up a rook at this point. I think the problem was I thought I was up less, like the exchange or a piece or something. Castles. Arsenal, are you serious? Can I castle? Castle's kingside. You mean castle's kingside isn't allowed? Okay. Castles, this is a very long castle. That'd be funny. That's like a hustler trick. Against Prognaninha, I would try that. Castle queenside. Very long castling. I think, what's his name? Asa Hoffman would like that. Rook F1, and now I was panicking. So I played this double question mark. And then the weirdest part was this. Okay, I played bishop F6, so now you can pick. Take a bishop, any bishop. It's like when you show them 2 cards. You can like turn over 1 card, right? This is really funny. Seriously. Imagine like you turn over 1 card, you like pick a card, and then you turn over both cards. I give him both bishops. Is that normal? It's not normal to do what I did here. I mean, I'm like freaking out. I literally give Morales both my bishops. Is it normal to give him both my bishops in this position? Is that necessary? Seriously. Like, it's unbelievable. Bishop F6, I'm like, okay. He takes here, and now I give him the other bishop too. It's so ridiculous. I'm lost now, apparently, though. But I mean, for Christ's sake, I should at least, like, keep my bishop, you know? I gave him 1 already. Why would I give him both bishops? I give him both bishops. And the funny part is, like, I almost drew anyway. It felt like it anyway. Apparently I'm totally lost, but it felt like I had a chance here. I'm down a piece, but there's only a limited number of pawns left. And then he played, like, perfectly. This is really scary. He played perfectly. Engine move. Engine move. I mean, I guess they're pretty obvious, like one move, but still, it was like very precise, only move. And this is second best, but strong. And here I was optimistic. I'm threatening mate in 1. I'm like, yes, threatening mate in 1. He won't see it. It doesn't show the times. I have 2 passed pawns, and I'm threatening mate in 1, right? Arsenal, everything's cool. Good king position. What more do you want? Like, I have 2 passed pawns, good king position. One of my pawns is on the 5th rank, and I'm threatening mate in 1. What could possibly go wrong? I was very optimistic at this point. And then, of course, the only move there. Rook F1, killing all my fun. And now this pawn is starting to kill him. D3. Yeah, everything's fine. It's unbelievable. It's +6. +6. Pawn on the 6th. My king is super active. I'm threatening nothing. And then I just resign. He took my pawn on G7. Even that's the engine move. Jesus Christ. Well, what else is he going to do? See, these easy engine moves. Morales has easy engine moves. And now only rook takes d3 is winning. Maybe this is the best move of the game. Because if he moves his knight, this is unbelievable. No, he has 96, no? Wait, why is 96? No, 96 is winning too. This is controlling c7. This also winning. It's not the only move. And then it's like rook against rook and two connected passed pawns. A good game by Morales, though. That was fun, man, and also theoretically interesting. Arsenal, thanks for hanging out with us. You're a devoted viewer. Underneath my skin 666. Rock my rocks. Botez live. Botez live. Bye bye. Only real poker players, please. All right, guys. We'll be back. Thomas Trainson is streaming. Let's do some chess-like stuff. Let's raid Thomas. See what he's up to. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, Gliga. You're welcome. Mr. Coffee, thanks for tuning in. Oh no, Thomas isn't raiding. I'm sorry, I thought Thomas was on. He's not on. Skewerly's on. Could raid Skewerly. I thought it was Thomas. He was doing streams on my You can raid Skewerly. I thought it was Thomas because he was doing No, Thomas was often like streaming on Thursday nights. I for some reason thought it was him.